I can't hear anybody. Can you hear me now?
Brian, can you hear me now? He's gone. Oh,
There we go.
sorry. There you are.
Cell phone.
Can you hear me now?
I'm here.
Excellent.
Yep, I can hear you.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thank you very much. Okay, please join us in initiating Tyler McIntosh.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Oh, I need a approval for the July 19th special meeting minutes, the August 7th special meeting minutes, the August 19th work session and regular meeting minutes.
I will make a motion that we approve the July 19th special meeting minutes, the August 7th special meeting minutes, the August 19th work session, and the August 19th regular meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Now Taylor.
Now join me in celebrating Taylor McIntosh, our Zone 3 trustee, who was recommended for appointment at the August 19th meeting. And Carmen, you give her the oath, correct?
Hey, Taylor, repeat after me, please. I guess we do this. Okay. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Idaho,
and the Constitution of the State of Idaho,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee
of the Joint School District 171
of the Joint School District 171
accordingly to the best of my ability.
accordingly to the best of my abilities.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. I hope your situation resolves well, Brian.
Well, we're making a record.
Okay, we now have a full quorum, no matter what happens with technology. We have a consent agenda. Any questions on the consent agenda? Oh,
Okay.
a motion
Yeah,
for the
I'll make a-
consent agenda?
Because it's an action item.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'll make a motion for the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Any questions about?
Not from my end. Brian, do you have any questions on that?
I do not.
Taylor, you're officially on.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
I did have a couple of questions in the budget. There were two lines that had negatives, which added dollars to us. I emailed those. Let me find that email.
I can speak to it.
Thank you.
you'd asked about several funds that had unencumbered balances, basically.
There were two. Yeah.
They're budgeted amounts that just don't have any purchase orders written against them. So likely they'll be expended. They just haven't been yet. So, and that's common in most of our lines, don't have any encumbered dollars against them if they haven't been used yet.
There were two that had a negative, and that's what I was confused about. There was a negative, so it was almost, and it ended up adding to the dollar amount.
Do you remember what column that would have been in?
That was my first response to
Say again.
if it's a reimbursement to an expense account.
It would show a negative.
Accounts when I get a check from the school for something that's back, it looks at the credit back.
Okay, and then the next month it clear, yep.
It's because it was a reimbursement.
Okay, 51,500, and I believe the other one was 51,200.
Yeah, so those
Yep.
are expenses.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there's just kind of-
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it wasn't of concern, it was just curiosity.
Perfect.
Remember that. Okay. No more discussion? We get a vote? All those in favor? Brain is not working. So we had a motion and a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, board reports and recognitions.
So I'm first,
You want to kick off?
you bet.
Awesome.
Okay. So we're gonna divide and conquer. So we'll start out with Orofino Elementary School. The first recognition and or awards, Tama Naden on the OES kindergarten team annually provides a series of classes for parents of PK and kinder students called Ready for Kindergarten. Each class lasts an hour and a half with childcare and a light dinner provided. The classes are aligned to kindergarten standards and provide parents with the tools and material to help their child be successful in kindergarten. We appreciate Tama for going above and beyond to help students get the best start possible in school. Great job. And then Cavendish, we got award. Cavendish received $1,000 NSPERS grant to offset the cost of educational field trips. They go to places like the Clearwater Museum, Spalding, Hell's Canyon jet boat trip, Cedars, and Dale Reservoir. So $1,000 that helps those kids. And I was just noticing that we had 15 kids up in Peck, which is pretty awesome.
Cavendish.
Or sorry, in Cavendish. And nothing from Peck.
Okay, so for Orofino Junior Senior High School, recognizing Madison Melton for her work with our leadership group and the writing of our weekly newsletter. They have taken on the planning of homecoming, decorating the fair booth, and cleaning up around the building, including doing all the teachers' trashes for 7th hour to help out the custodial staff. So great job.
Awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was very cool. At Timberline, Katrina Morris has really put in a lot of extra effort around the Title I and intervention program. So we want to celebrate that. Liz Fitzwater has great energy, commitment, and willingness to take on extra duties. And I have had the pleasure of working with Elizabeth Fitzwater this summer. She's volunteered at the J. Howard Bradbury Memorial Logging Museum, and she's a hoot. So I appreciate them in our community. Samantha Collingsworth, she has a graphic arts program, and she's really creative, and she's adding an entrepreneurial bent to the class, which I think is really great. And I'm glad we can appreciate that. Roy goes above and beyond with our maintenance staff, and we continue to celebrate that small but mighty team. And when I walked in and walked down the hallway, it was like, wow, look at those floors. It's very cool. Very happy to have that team. District-wide, our professional learning committee guiding coalition leadership volunteers, we want to celebrate them, and we're excited about the PLC directions. Those include Susan Cunningham, Rebecca Crockett, Sarah Hill, Bryn Knudsen, Nikki Olive, and Charity Richardson. So thank you to those gals. District Day, the survey. I read through the survey data, and overall, it looks like we had a really positive vibe going, and there's some interesting comments to create constructive comments for improvement for the next one. So I thought they were really great.
I love that all the comments were shared, good and bad. That was just, you said it, like you said, probably 70% were good, but the ones that were bad were pretty, we can fix those things. So,
Constructive.
Yeah,
Yeah, nothing was
exactly.
ugly. So I thought that was
No.
really great. So
I agree.
kudos to the team. Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any question on any of the building reports?
You want me to do ICY?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Brian, next month you
IDYCA.
gotta do IDYCA, but I'll cover it for you. They wanted to recognize
Sounds good.
Timberline High School for allowing them to use the facility. They appreciate the support over the years for these events. They are extremely important to families and the cadres. Parent-teacher conferences were completed during the event. I appreciate the teachers for their efficiency in speaking with parents and letting them get back to enjoying their limited time with their kids. So that was from Jim.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
You bet. I think we got the other
I missed
ones.
that link this morning. Okay, any questions from about the building reports?
Just a comment. I was talking about it before we started, but we have every leadership report this month, which is really awesome. And the standardized, I know you guys are working on it, so work in progress, but they're getting a lot more standard than they were. So it's really easy to read through them and tie them all together, but lots of good information and lots of information. So appreciate that.
And I want to celebrate our students that are taking ownership in their behavioral issues. We are down significantly on behavioral problems in the first month of school. So yay us, yay you. Appreciate that.
Can I add something about the chronic absenteeism?
Yes.
So that's in my superintendent report, and that's what I was talking about. I referenced earlier. On our state report card, it shows that last year our chronic absenteeism is 20%. So at face value, that sounds really bad, but chronic absenteeism calculates when a student's in the seat or not. And so all student activities, anything that a student's gone from would count in that percentage. However, we're above, in a bad way, the state average. State average is 17 and we're at 20. So, and that's a year long. So we do have some work to do there, but if it's a little bit misleading. I don't want people to think that, kids are missing 20% of school. It's not the case at all, but that's the rate that's on our report card. So
Yeah, I saw that.
also that property tax reduction, letter D, that's House Bill 292. And this is important to note that our taxpayers will see a reduction in their supplemental levy, the school district supplemental levy of $644,202.31 total this year. That's not on top of the reduction that was seen last year. It's a new reduction based on the original levy amount. We're statutorily prohibited from advertising when we run a supplemental levy that we will receive, a reduction. I think because it's not clear what that reduction would be each year, and it could be misleading if you tried to campaign on that. However, I think it's important to note that taxpayers, our levy of 2.6 whatever will be reduced 644,000. So the state is increasing revenue to schools and decreasing the reliance on property tax. And so that's a positive for us.
Good deal.
Yeah, and our community as a whole.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Any questions on the program reports? Carmen, one thought I had, you and I have been going back and forth on the Wellness and Nutrition Committee. And I was hoping to have time to come down and talk to you about that today, but I wonder if the idea of your open house could become a recruitment strategy or an effort to make people aware that the USDA likes for us to have a health and wellness committee around nutrition in schools. And it includes community outreach and engagement by community members, as well as potential experts. And so we want to bring that thing back to life. So I wonder if I liked your open house idea to celebrate the freezer. We have a new freezer.
Sounds good.
Okay,
We
can
could
work
probably do that,
work
yeah.
together on that. Yeah. Russell, do we anticipate any backlash from our fishing event? Hard to say. Okay. Okay.
try to assess, secure, and inform possibly can.
Awesome.
Might
Um,
want to go into that a little more for the people that might not have known what happened.
He communicated with everyone that it affected,
Okay.
so I think we're okay.
You okay?
Yep, yeah. I visited with Cody about the sped, the manual changes. So that would be good. And then I had a comment about, a question about absenteeism. So the question that I was wondering about was, do we need to add more to our current absenteeism management program and that whole outreach effort when students are reaching close to the brink of not being able to pass those classes in the quarter, or are we satisfied with how that's working?
I think the work's being done. There's a tremendous amount of energy put into it. It's just a matter of sustaining that, probably that work and seeing the results from it. So
Right on.
I think we're okay.
Okay, great. Okay, those are all the questions I had. Brian, did you have any questions?
No, with the sustainability of that, Jason, I guess the only question I have is, are we staffed well enough to continue to drive that program internally?
I would say, can you hear me okay, Brian?
It's not super loud, but I got it.
That the grant is coming to an end that has supported us on that. And so it is an issue. It is a challenge for schools and principals to stay on top of it. So yes and no. It's always been a challenge and will continue to be, I'm sure.
So as a board, I guess the question is, what do you need from us to make sure that we can sustain that?
I don't know that I could answer that right now. We could discuss that throughout this year with the administrators and see how it goes as we have decreased support from Emma's position through the grant.
Sounds good. My biggest concern is, I know that it takes labor and effort to track, make those phone calls. And we all know how important attendance is to the district. So I just don't want to lose that. If there's something we can do as a team, we should definitely start looking at that.
Appreciate that.
Volunteer hours on the phone line?
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah,
I mean, volunteer hours, a little bit of parental pressure. I don't know.
Well, hopefully the momentum that we gained over the last, because it's been 2 years.
Yep.
Right, 2 years. Hopefully we've generated a lot more awareness. I know I've had comments about the delivery and moving away from a negative spin to a positive.
Yep.
So hopefully that positive spin holds better.
And then I just wanted to know, when do we need to sign up for the ISBA conference? Do we have a time frame on that? It's
Yep,
in
that's-
November. Is it coming up?
Yep, down here a little bit more.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect. So
yep,
that's coming.
Yep. So, okay, if there's no more questions on the program reports, we'll move into discussion items. Policy tracker?
Ready or not.
Mhm. You have an order?
Yeah, let me catch up.
Okay. I know I have an order, but
So with Russell's help, I created a couple of filter views. Hopefully the instructions were made sense to you. You can click on cell A2 and see all of the policies for September 1st read. And then once you have that open, when you're ready to close it, the X is in the far right corner. Or you can click on September 2nd read, which is in B2, and that just filters out those cells. My suggestion would be that we take a look at those second read policies. It really doesn't matter which way you want to go, but either way, first
I
read,
agree.
second read, need to be done or sent out for further, further work. first read is just taking a look at them for the first time. I've had them available, but I haven't had much input except for the specific individuals that I know I needed, like Casey, Carmen helped me on some policy. But because we're behind, there's just a lot of them. Almost all of them are required updates to required policies that are pretty straightforward. But we can get into whichever ones you want to. So Chris, which way do you want to go?
Let's do the second reads so that we can get the decisions made on what we've read and then get as far as we can
Okay,
without glazing over.
sounds good.
So
in column C, that's the summary of the change from current policy. Those are the new suggested revisions by ISBA. And in bold for each policy tells you if it's required, recommended, etc.
yeah, so the first one, 2705 military compact waiver. Is that what you have as the first one?
Yep.
I personally didn't have any issues or additional questions with this.
Nor did I.
Okay,
That one seemed easy.
so need a motion?
Want to do them one by one?
This is discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's go
Even when
through.
we get to action.
Thank you.
items.
See, I'm so glad to have Carmen. Okay, so the next one.
3060.
Same thing, change to immunization requirements.
Yep.
Aligning with code.
So I had a question around the homeless students in previous schools. And how do we know? How do we reach out?
This policy just emphasizes that and puts in writing that the principal is able to assign credit for a student who's designated as homeless based on partial completion or partial information they get from the school. So it just gives a principal more flexibility in making a decision to award credit to a student who's officially designated as a homeless student.
So one of the things I was thinking about was the homeschool conversation that we had prior to school opening and this, and do they dovetail in some way around how we assess that individual?
Not in this case, no, it
No.
would be completely different because it'd be a homeless student with, the point is impartial records or no records,
Mhm, mhm.
you know, and so it's maximum flexibility for a very rare, hardship situation.
7407.
Yeah, we can do the dollar amount of that one, right?
This was just aligning with the state's procurement, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I didn't have any issues with that. 9100. $9,100 won't open for me. Does it open for you?
It's just changing, it's just clarifying the difference in,
So that was the property.
sale,
Okay. Mhm.
how you designate the value.
Less
of
than
property.
$1,000. Yeah. I don't know why it won't open for me. That's it. Okay, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, I read that and didn't have any questions.
Yeah, no, I was good on that one too.
Board policy and vacancies. I didn't see anything there that. So if we move away, we can't be on the board anymore.
Makes sense.
1500 P is also required. That's on the recall.
I saw that and I didn't have any issues with that either. We have to beg for people to join us. I can't imagine having a excitement around a recall vote. We'd have to be really bad to do that, wouldn't we?
We'll
Okay.
probably step down before that happens.
2320. Did have some questions on that one. So I want to get the right. Oh, there we go. I had a question on here. It was, when would parents be given the opportunity to review course material? It talks about allowing parents to have that opportunity. When does that occur?
I've added all the required, this year we found that we had a lot of required information that was not publicly available. And so we've posted it all on our website. And these specific ones need to go out for students that, ninth grade students in health class need to receive specific information on this so that parents are aware and can exercise their rights to opt out.
So it would be prior to the student entering that class within
Yeah.
the schedule? Okay, all right. And do we have a mechanism for that to happen?
We don't yet. We're just
We'll
gonna have to, we're
build
just
it.
gonna do it this year.
Okay, all right.
The policy, the ISBA 2320 says that it has to be requested from the superintendent. Is that the
Mhm.
intention for our policy, that it's requested from the superintendent?
Look at that.
Yeah,
Or-
first paragraph, the last
It
screen.
used to be May, and now they're trying to emphasize that they are going to be given the opportunity.
Yeah, it just in our current one, it says can be, I think our current one says something about being able to request it from the school. But the ISBA one says it must be requested from the superintendent.
Mhm.
Or unless he designates somebody.
It's always nice to have designee in there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It
so
helps
you-
us be efficient. I like the
Yeah.
language of superintendent or designee.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree.
Otherwise we'd be
Yeah.
in trouble.
And then we
then there's a
will
choice.
have an assignment to make a choice for what direction we choose in relationship to this.
What's the
Our
current
Our
direction?
current practice isn't, our policy is pretty vague, but it does reference more than abstinence. So our current practice is more in line with the latter option, which is that, abstinence is a key factor in that, but there are other methods to prevent pregnancies and sexually transmitted infections. So that's pretty standard, and especially with parents being provided the information, this being age appropriate, our current practice is very conservative, and our school nurse does it with junior high students. In high school, you're going to have a little bit more in systems, body systems, reproduction, et cetera, but it's more in line with the second option.
And choosing the second option, the intention is that curriculum wouldn't necessarily need to change from what we're currently doing.
Or the practice, yeah. Mhm.
No, but it's good for parents to be aware of it and make sure they, that they approve. And if they don't, their students can opt out.
So that's the new piece, regardless of what pathway we choose
We have to choose.
around what we direct the instruction. We have to allow the parents that opportunity, which that's in line with the legislature. I don't remember what bill it is, but
It also, emphasizes in this policy that it's not an instructor's position to use their opinion or their
Right.
moral values. They're supposed to teach the facts. If they can teach both sides of a case, just like in politics or something like that.
any discussion that you want to add, Brian, for 2320? Still here?
No, I think it's in line with where we've been. I mean, really, the biggest point is that parents they have the option to opt out if they choose to.
And the other key there is the abortion piece. So, Idaho passed legislation about that. So this policy emphasizes adoption. We can't use curriculum if it's created by an abortion provider.
Yeah. And that's a big alignment piece. So the parental consent and then the anti-abortion position that the legislature has taken, or the state has taken. Yeah.
I'm comfortable with this policy, as the ISBA recommends it.
Yeah, I read it a few times last night just to get my head wrapped around
Yeah.
it. And, yeah,
It's not outside the norm that I've experienced in our community. But
Right.
there will be some parents that would with, opt out.
so what do we do in an opt-out situation for that credit?
We
Is there
provide an
another option?
alternative, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, provide an alternative and, we try to make sure it's not, the student doesn't feel excluded and,
Right.
that
Mhm.
it's not a punishment.
It's not a required one then, or.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, ready to move on to 2,500? The library materials. Is a bit of a gotcha here, I think. From the intent of the state leadership. So I don't, how do we capture that parental permission? Is that part of the registration? Is there a form? Or is
Well,
it a
this,
book by book?
yeah, it is book by book. In this policy says that a library may have a
Mhm.
section that's,
Right.
That's a good
What's the
point. Do
word?
we even have
that
to?
requires parent permission.
Mhm.
We don't currently have those sections, but we could have. And so the policy allows us to do that.
But in our current libraries,
We don't have,
So that makes it a lot easier.
No, we do not.
okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
so,
something.
We don't currently have a restricted section for adults in our libraries.
That's correct.
okay, so that one becomes
Makes it a
not a
good
big
point,
deal. I was just curious about process, okay,
Yeah.
how do we do this? Okay, 3,500F. This was just a form, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just
And we've already,
I don't-
this is okay as
I didn't
is. We've
see.
already,
updated that one.
sent out the form and
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we already did this form, correct?
Yeah.
correct, that's correct.
And 4105. And this is our public comment. Which when I read this, I was tickled, Brian, because we moved our public comment to after discussion so people could comment on what had actually been discussed instead of before. So
Yeah, that was
I-
nice.
Yeah,
I was tickled by that
oversight.
alignment. Yeah.
You were just ahead of your time.
We. Okay, so that's all of the second reads, right?
I'm good with all of these policies. We'll just need to write them down to get them approved.
We do have a sentence to add in 2320.
Yeah.
We have to choose that. So we'll do that in action. Okay, so now we X out. It's cool technology.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks, Russell.
Thank you, Russell.
Yes, very clean. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna go. for-
Okay, so first read. 3320. This is a substance and alcohol abuse one. And it just sort of clarified and made it a little bit cleaner, I thought.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the issue, if a student was expelled for drug or alcohol use, and we made it, and the board made it a condition that they receive some sort of treatment, which we have done in the
Mhm.
past.
Yeah.
This says the school district's going to pay for it.
Right.
And that's the main change.
Yeah.
Now, we could still require something that was free. We have options like that, but we typically avoid requiring something that's going to be expensive or even costly at all. But
Well, one of our limitations is availability.
Right.
Yes,
That
it
was,
is.
we've had a lot of discussions, unfortunately, in those, but our expulsion hearings are way down, so that's a good thing. And our behavior is way better, so maybe we can go a year without any
Any special meetings?
expulsion.
Be amazing.
7,400 P2.
In addition, real quick,
Oh,
it does say that Idaho law probably, requires that anyway, that if we were, we probably could be held accountable anyway. So I'm okay with that change. And we would just want to be cognizant that if we were going to require something like that, we would be for it. So, there are plenty of free options that we could exercise if we needed to.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way for us to handle it if we can go that route.
So 7,400 is around procurement. And the Russell, I thought of you and your rubrics when I read this, that we must have a method for conducting technical evaluations. And then the non-competitive proposals, isn't this guided by the state procurement rules at 50 and under is non-competitive? I thought it was kind of weird that they gave you a choice when there's state
What's that?
procurement.
So that's the 3,000, which are was lower. Remember, we got to select one, 25 or 50.
I know, but I think the state procurement policy that we just looked at is 50,
So then why would they make us?
50 and under. So yeah, I didn't understand why they were
behind that?
separating.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Except the sole source,
Okay.
being specific to a sole source.
I think having that written method, that's the main part of it,
Yeah.
so that you can produce that.
And we do, right? I mean, we have established, Carmen showed a great rubric
Yeah.
of the food prices, and so I didn't think that was an issue. Public Works. So this is the one that we would give authorization to the superintendent to expend within a certain limit. So the suggestion for smaller school district is 5,000 to 10,000. That's the only change here, right? The 5% bidder bond is a number now. And then the alignment, it's just alignment with the new state procurement numbers, I think. 1500B, it's an operating protocol. It's a required document, but not a required policy. And we utilize Robert's Rule of Order, so I figured we were good there. We had it. The 2385 was the English Learners Program,
Rarely.
and we
is-
don't have this,
Yeah,
right?
rarely. It's been a great while. And this policy would be fine for us. It just allows us to exempt them from testing. When you do have students learning you know, the IRI is K3, so when you do have young students learning a language, it's it seems cruel and unusual to me to test them on.
A language they aren't proficient in. Yeah.
I wouldn't appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. 2435
It's going up $500.
optional. Do they apply for the Fast Forward program?
Students don't have to apply directly. The counselors take care of that usually in conjunction with the student. But when they, you know, when they're taking an advanced course or dual credit course, we use funds like this.
Mhm.
They're raising the limit to align with the legislation.
Mhm. And do we have a separate fund associated? I should know this, passing the budget, right? I don't remember that we talked about this fund, the Fast Forward Fund. Thank you. Do we carry it over like the insurance fund?
Use or lose.
You,
Or, oh, Joe, okay. Yep.
and so, are the fees associated with the CTE classes, part of the grants that we have? Or is it just equipment in the grants?
No.
Okay. So I jumped one, 2500 F. More on the library materials. Oh, this is the form.
It is a form,
Okay.
For that other policy.
if we had those in the library.
Do we want to adopt the form in case?
Yeah, because we're on first reads.
Yeah.
So we can talk.
I want to point out something. Can I back you up a little bit?
Yep.
2435.
Yeah.
Challenging courses. We don't currently have a process in place for a student to challenge a course, so this would need to be a May. It's an FYI, some districts do. In order to do it well, you really have to have a thorough process, you know, in order to challenge a course like you would in college. We do not currently have that process in place. So just FYI, that would need to be in May.
Have we had individuals desire to challenge courses?
I have not.
We do with the elementary level,
Mm.
especially since, right,
So do you have a process?
we don't have a good process yet.
Okay.
We'll need to come up with that before.
Maybe some of those 4th and 5th grade math whiz-bangs are going to want to challenge science buffs.
That's what we've seen, so
In math in math.
it's typically.
Yeah, we have had students and families want to skip a math. Usually just want to skip because, you know, they
To
do
keep them
well.
engaged.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're advanced. So yeah, and that's usually when it happens.
Mhm.
So we probably need to have a policy
Is
or
that,
a process for it.
or does that meet the need to allow them to skip that layer, or do we?
Well, there are a lot of concerns with that. Making gaps in instruction, making sure that we're doing due diligence before we have them skip an entire chunk of curriculum. and move them. So I don't know, like Jason said, there are lots of layers to that. You want to make sure you have a really good process.
So if
it's an
there's no process and somebody comes to you,
Not an effective one. We've highlighted a few things in the past, but didn't feel good about the process and didn't have any.
It's optional, so can we pick and choose what we want, or do we just add the word may and,
Can go
Um,
either way.
so I guess we'll ask for a recommendation from you guys,
for
what you think
second read.
for the second read.
Yep.
Give it some thought.
I'll put some notes in there.
Awesome. Thanks for bringing that up, Jason.
So library forum, that's,
Jason.
if we have it, just in case,
Mhm.
Yeah.
makes sense.
Exactly.
Oops. That's the wrong, no, 2530. Learning materials review and reconsideration.
We on 3440, Chris?
2530.
2530.
So this is around learning materials review and our constitutional rights of expression of freedom. I think this is in line with that, more parental control, consent around what happens in school. Is that how you read this? With a focus on what parents would perceive as being harmful to minors? But we scrubbed our libraries, so
Yeah,
we
I
don't
was gonna
have
say
these
most of
issues,
them-
right?
Especially B anyway. So.
Like, we will have these issues regardless of what books exist in the library. It's just a clash of values, right? So
mhm.
we need to have a process like this. So if it offends me as a parent, I have a mechanism to address it,
Mhm.
while it may not offend the majority, you know.
Mhm.
And I'm sure we'll continue. They're rare in our district, but they happen. Typically, just at the building level, we've always just provided an alternate, you know, just work with the families about, you know, typically it happens when it's an assignment in a literature class or something. And the parent has an objection, we just create an alternate and work with them, and, you know, it doesn't become a big deal.
So,
I
mean,
think what happens is some of these come from schools that, you know, it's just like, this is the way it is, and too bad. If you don't like it, go somewhere else attitude. And
mhm.
that just doesn't work for us.
Yeah, I mean, content wise, I thought we had everything in our existing policy. I was trying to look and see.
It's trying to find the balance between not removing everything that every individual has an issue with, and then also defining what's harmful to a minor.
Mhm. But that would be, I mean, that would be subjective to an individual's beliefs or position.
They try to define
Some of
it
this
here
stuff
so
I
that-
have zero desire to.
And it looks like in the formal process, we'll have some options to choose.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then what we do is, if we accept this policy as amended, then leadership, somebody defines our formal process around the choices they've given us. Okay. And does that come back as the second read so that that process is clearly identified in the policy that we pass?
We would approve whatever policy and if there's a procedure already drafted for it. And then if work needs to be done because of an approved policy, then
Then we
we
do
would
that.
create procedures or a form, whatever was necessary to align with the policy that you approve.
So that one might be interesting next month.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that's a first read.
Yeah, me too.
They're kind of heavy.
3440.
Do we currently have programs that are eligible for reimbursement through the Empowering Parents Grant?
Russell, you know about that? What's available through the Empowering Parents Grant? Wasn't there something with technology that was internet access or no?
License. I haven't looked at the list. It's through a clearinghouse on the state level.
Thank you.
But if we had programs, would we have to register them with the Empowering Parents Grant so then parents could select that on the marketplace essentially that they have access to? Because they essentially get the money and they have access to a marketplace. And if you look at the marketplace, there's offerings for things that are specific to like the Boise area. So do they register to be able to be on the market? Is there things that we need to register that we're offering that aren't registered with the marketplace so parents can use that?
I'm not aware of anything we have that
Okay.
is fee-based like that.
I think it's mostly private providers.
Okay.
Sort of like tutoring services
Yeah.
or additional enrichment programs, things like that. There are definitely some things in there that, our students might take advantage of, but I don't know if anything offered here per se, or that we would be offering.
Okay.
Right, if we're offering it, they can just come here and take that.
Right.
Okay. Well, I had noticed like driver's ed was on there, some things like that that we do. I know that was the only one that I recognized besides tutoring services, of course, but. So IDLA is actually getting the money from Empowering Parents Grant, so we don't have to do anything.
You are the best way to do it, so the money wasn't changing nobody's hands, and we just get a direct contact to register it that way.
Oh, perfect.
And our existing policy is more around whether we would waive fees associated with that of anything that we offered. Right, right. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's actually a completely different direction. And it's specific to that Empowering Parents Grant program. So I wonder if there's a mesh, do we want to retain the fact that we would be willing to waive fees given a certain situation and then directing them through the Empowering Parents Grant program for what is offered? Or is that not, is that a replacement? Is the Empowering Parents Grant program, and I am a parent, but not of a child in school, so I don't know of this. Is that the only place that, or is that, would we need to think about offering a waiver of a fee? Or does this Empowering Parents Grant program assume all of that lift? I don't know. That's why I asked, when you look at our existing
Sure.
policy, it's just, we would consider waiving fees. And then here's this grant program. So
this policy prohibits districts from charging fees for credit-based courses, which we do not.
right.
The only exception to that would be IDLA, which is covered, like we talked about
That's
earlier.
them. Mhm.
If students fail IDLA, they're supposed to be charged a fee in order to take another one. I think our practice is to not do that, but I think that's the norm. Other than that, we don't have offerings that really pertain.
To this.
And this is a recommended but not required policy,
If we did have a program, it could not be for credit.
right? As we think about getting more creative with CTE, does this become relevant that we would want to have it?
I can't see how it would.
Okay. That would be my only thought,
Because we're not charging fees for any of that.
right?
So once again,
But we might, for like a spin-off CTE at some sort of specialty. We might look at that from the sustainability standpoint. And as we look into the future around our financial sustainability, fee structures may change,
yeah, well, then we could come
Not-
back and make. an
not for
update.
classic
Yeah,
curriculum.
we have
but
no intentions of charging for credit-based courses.
No,
that we
no.
provide.
Yeah, I think this is.
Not
for
regular.
private.
Okay. Health screenings.
This is the one that we had to send out the letter to all of our families about.
Yep.
They really didn't intend for it to be, the legislation didn't intend for it to be for minor things, but the way they wrote it required us to get consent for minor
Yeah, danger,
treatment as well.
ibuprofen.
Mhm.
Which we've had policy for a long time that we're not, that we don't administer medication unless it's set up with a parent ahead of time, but it was the Band-Aids and ice packs that they were worried about.
Does the form that we sent out cover both 3,500 and 3,540? Does it cover both of those policies, the form that we have already sent out?
Yes.
Good, that makes sense.
Mhm.
And an important note there is that in the event of emergency, staff still have to act with the student's best interest, and try to get parent permission, but in an emergency, our staff are covered by trying to do the right thing.
It's almost backwards to me.
54/7.
You'd think
Oh,
that, you'd think that you would presume that there is consent.
It'd be easier for us.
Yeah, yeah,
Some things we are allowed to do that. So
yeah. So this is another one that sort of ties back to that legislative intent about parental control over student or minor destiny. Okay. Do you
I
see
see
any?
5470 doesn't have a link. I don't know why. Must be a mistake.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You can read the changes there.
House Bill 580. Oh, so this is about staff.
Yep.
Okay, well, I would imagine we support veterans wholeheartedly or active duty members. Do you remember if there were, just looking at our existing policy, it's pretty clear
Yeah,
It is. Yep.
that
take military leave from work.
Farah, do you know, does it, any concerns or questions for the new recommended policy? Have you seen it?
No, I have to.
Okay.
Maybe in the guard or something, if someone's in the guard.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, like I said, we're not gonna not let them take their 10 days and their paid leave.
Okay, two more. 7260. Student activity funds. Why would we even think about the funds that were brought in from the athletics or not participation, but public, the gate fees, et cetera? Why would we even think about them going someplace else?
I don't know.
That's what this says to me, is that where else do you want to use them, right?
Probably because in the city, they probably have some real money in those accounts, not, you know what I mean?
No, yeah, maybe.
It's
Yeah.
just-
We're just barely covering officials and.
We've had this policy for a long time. This just allows when it was written, they required a check, a written check with 2 signatures. This is allowing districts to use a debit card if they have one, to expend student body funds.
Okay.
Oh,
And
okay.
student body
Oh, that
funds
makes
are
sense.
controlled separate, they're
Yep.
controlled as a separate entity.
Right.
Okay.
Talks about the process for it.
That makes more sense.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of administrative sort of overburden on. Brittany, do you manage these funds, the dollars? Okay, those
Each-
are those separate line school budgets that we see. They're not huge pots.
No, it'd be one line within the school's local funds,
Mhm.
collected from, ASB fees.
Right.
Mhm. So it simplifies the administration of those dollars.
Yeah, provides the policy provides clear guidance on them, and as well as, in this case, adds a little bit of flexibility now that debit cards are a thing.
Mhm.
We're a little behind.
Well, I don't doubt we're the only state. It's not just us, right? Okay, last one for first read,
Yep.
recommended.
This is just about transparency in our contracts.
Yep.
Mhm.
Pretty basic stuff.
Yeah, why would you not have the parties, the amount, and
It's
why,
not
the scope of
district,
work?
Yeah.
They don't publish that as part of Transparent Idaho with the state contract information. We have to report it separately ourselves. Is that what this is
I
saying?
think so, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been involved with this yet, but
More, yeah, we haven't had any, because we do most of this in-house.
We have public works, though.
No, that's true.
Everything that we would
Yeah.
do would be under a public works contract.
Yeah.
I don't see anything in here that causes a red
No.
flag. Provides clarity. What do we say now?
And how many days do we say now? Within 15? Is that doable?
It's probably the biggest impact is to our staff who have to report that.
Yeah.
it's pretty clear.
Yeah,
Mhm.
make sure Roy knows it.
Yeah, that would be the big thing, is communicating
Making
that
sure we're
with.
in compliance
mhm,
for
making-
sure.
Yep. Mhm. Yeah. So because it would have contract or compliance issues, then it would be something that could become a gotcha in an audit.
Yeah, or worse than that, lawsuit.
Mhm, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So this will get us caught up to where we need to be for policies.
That'll get us caught up from like a spring update and summer update, I think. And then we should have
There'll
another
be some
update.
coming in the
Yeah.
winter. And that
Oh,
comes
there'll be a
after.
fall update.
That'll be after the ISBA conference, won't it?
I don't know.
Do you remember the timing of the fall updates? Kind of November-ish? Because I thought that we had a briefing of them at the ISBA conference, what was coming.
How much legislation there was and how many rewrites they had to do. So there's a lot of laws that got changed. And they're at
I don't think much got done last year.
It's very similar, just like you see the library stuff again. so
Right.
we
Mhm.
did In 2023.
Yep.
So it's a lot more that's new.
Okay. Okay, we did it.
Cool.
Any
Okay.
questions about the first read?
Nope.
Okay. Do we have the gentleman here about the property near the parking lot?
Yes.
Hi.
How you doing? My name's Daryl Blanford. We moved here in December and I live right up here on 320 Dunlap, and the property of the high school literally just kind of just runs into my property and goes all the way to the back of where the pine trees are, right on the corner. So I was inquiring if it was possible to buy some of that property back there, but if not, I've been maintaining it because of the snakes in the summertime. And the wintertime, I hired a guy to come out and do the trees. He cut all the trees, I cut all the trees back. So I just want to make sure there wasn't no liability if I had permission that I could maybe use it. Just so I put a greenhouse or like a chicken coop or something, just on that property. I just didn't want to put that stuff on the property if I wouldn't be allowed to, like on down the road and have to move it on. My neighbors told me that the high school has never done anything with that property.
Becca, do you, I mean, my first thought is it's the school's property. Do you have any?
I'm having a hard time finding the boundaries of where my property stops. Because they pulled up the stakes, I guess, the property stakes. So I went downtown to the title company, went over to the courthouse, and they tried to pull it up on their computer, and they couldn't find anything. So it's kind of a mystery where it actually, if I look on Google Maps, I can kind of get an idea, but and I wanted to put a fence up, so I wasn't sure where the property line was. So I didn't know if the school would have maybe
The survey?
property
Survey of
lines
zones.
so that, because there's Shelburne is a private road they made right there, and there must be probably, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 houses. And everybody has kind of a small lot back there, that the high school owns. But where I'm at, it's big, it's like big, and when I moved there, the weeds were like up to almost up to my knees, so I just been maintaining it all summer, and I just want to make sure that, that's all okay.
It's kind of a tough situation because you want to be neighborly with Mr.
I
Blanford.
sent Mr. Hunter an email with the pictures. Kind of, you see how it kind of flowed into the property.
Yeah. You want to be neighborly. The issue, there's several issues. Which neighbors do we, so first of all, I would not recommend selling any of our property at this time, even a little piece that we don't use, just because we don't know what we are going to need to do in the future.
Right.
Then we would have to decide, who should we let use our property, which neighbors, and which ones would we not? So that's kind of a hard thing for us. And then would be liability issues. So I sent our legal counsel an email about this, and I haven't heard back. And we also asked our insurance company, and we haven't heard back yet.
Those would
I
be the
like-
two questions that I would have.
Yeah.
is,
I like the idea of it looks better since he's maintained it, it's kind of one of those things that
Yeah,
like
we get
the
answers.
way it's working right now is pretty good, but there are some issues for us,
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially,
Especially if we
If-
officially granted permission, you know.
And yeah, and if you want to build structure on it, then what are the liabilities associated with that? That unfortunately has to be a first thought for us. So I think we can't make a decision about that until we understand what those things are. So yeah, no, yeah, and I understand that you've
Concerned about, well, I want to put a fence up, but I don't know what the property lines go.
and I understand that you've communicated this previously too. So yeah.
Yeah, he's been very proactive and, like I said, you want to be neighborly.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
taking
Maybe I
good
need
care
to
of it.
Get the city to maybe come back out and assess the property.
I wonder if that was an actual subdivision and if the assessor would have the parcel maps associated with that.
Get at the courthouse.
Mhm.
They didn't have that. That's why.
Huh, I
So
wonder if
they
the
said that
title
maybe
company,
you guys maintain little lots somewhere, because in Google Maps, it's kind of weird, it cuts it off at an angle, and everybody's property cuts off at an angle.
Mhm.
So, but I don't know what it stops it at. My neighbor don't really know either. He's got a fence there, but as far as he's concerned, that's where it stops.
right, yeah.
I couldn't find where mine stopped.
I would think unless we could find a way to eliminate liability, we couldn't officially grant permission.
Right.
Especially to build anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if do we have any documentation of property lines? I know we did some survey work with an adjacent landowner up at Timberline for that easement, but they paid for all that. That's new information.
Yeah, I really worried about the snakes in the summertime. There was a big snake that somebody had ran over, and I don't know what kind of snake it was, but there was a bunch of, my neighbor said he was walking his dog there for a bunch of small baby snakes, so in the grass in there, so I know they're there, so.
Personally, not a
I'll just
snake
keep
fan.
the grass down.
That's why I live in Weep.
That's why I make sure that's okay.
Is there, because we have volunteers, I mean, is there a thing for, there isn't.
Yeah,
doing-
we're having a hard time keeping up right now.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem maintaining it, I don't have a problem.
we're just trying to figure out how to make that legal.
Just if I could get the okay, just as long as it's movable, like a mobile greenhouse or whatever, just part of that, just a little bit of the property back there. I didn't want to do it without.
Should we go on a walk about one of these times? Obviously not in the dark, but just so we can actually see it.
Once
That
it
helped
gets
last time.
cold.
Well, get some snow.
I
no
don't,
snakes.
I don't think we could authorize a structure,
No,
without
no,
taking
it just
on
would be-
liability.
Mhm.
It's hard to
I
visualize.
think if the property line's not clearly established and he's mowing or weed eating and we don't really know where that line is,
Then we're okay.
we're probably okay, but until we had some sort of legal, we would be assuming liability.
Yeah, I'd be real interested in the insurance position.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you just hang tight with us, and Jason will communicate what we learn.
Okay.
Once I find out something, I'll give you a call. And
No problem.
Yeah,
So it's still okay to mow it and stuff?
yeah, you can take care of close to your property.
Want to make sure.
can't harvest any trees though, because we're building a sawmill, so we want all of our trees to grow.
Yeah, no, it was just, there was a lot of dead branches and stuff growing over. So I had a tree guy come out. He just kind of went down the property line and just took off the dead branches.
Nice.
And then that Woodston fire, that's another thing that concerned me with the high weeds and stuff.
Yeah, I totally understand, sir. We just have to make sure we protect the interest of the public's liability. Mhm.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Any other
appreciate it.
thoughts?
No, I think you got them all.
Let's see, where are we? Yep, thank you. The OJHS football travel policy. I looked at this.
Okay, so full context and kind of to give you end in mind, what I am requesting is that the board approve that we go outside of policy, a bus trip to Salmon for a football game this Friday. So context behind it. In In our league, we are pretty sparse as far as the amount of teams that play 11-man football. All of the surrounding schools play 8-man. So we do have to sometimes look farther outside of our normal limits for some of these games. This salmon game was agreed upon last spring. And after that agreement was put in place, Salmon scheduled it as their homecoming. So the option to pull out of the game completely is no longer on the table because we obviously don't want to disrupt their schedules. I will say that I am committing to and moving forward, we're going to not have trips of this nature. So our policy currently restricts our away trips to 280 miles. Salmon is 293. So it is just slightly outside of our policy agreements. But again, for context, all of the schools that are within right under the policy are 270, 265, 236, and 245. And those are the only schools outside that play 11-man and not 8-man football. So our options are a little bit limited. We are going to be doing a fairly long distance travel. I was approached by some parents and the coaching staff about making this request to the board for safety reasons. So obviously a bus is a much safer transportation option than self-transport with a bunch of kids going on very long distance, possibly on a road they've never driven on. So there's a couple of different factors there. I feel much safer as an admin, knowing they're traveling together, they're going to the hotel together, and then they're getting that night to rest and then returning home. So again, my commitment moving forward is that we're going to be a lot more intentional about not breaking policy. But when I just spoke with Jason about it, with the way to go about this was to request the board exclusively for this specific trip to be an exemption to policy.
So just be this one trip, and then will they come to us next year?
They haven't made an agreement that they are coming to us next year. Yes.
We'd have no cost.
No cost affiliated. And we do have parents involved and school funds that can help offset the cost that this would have. And I talked to Derek a little bit about what that cost would be. And again, I had a parent who expressed an interest in partially paying for that cost so that we wouldn't have to deal with some of those extenuating costs.
And they would be staying the night.
Yes, they're staying the night for sure. We're not going to try and do bus drive back. No, the bus driver will get a full night's rest. The game is late. We have already kind of have a contract for rooms, so that way everybody is taken care of. So
You just pay per mile, Derek, or how does that?
he was doing the numbers in
Yeah, how do you
there's
do-
there's mileage, there's
or
drive
you
time,
just-
there's time for the driver.
A bus out, we charge, we charge $1.25 per mile.
Okay.
We charge the rate, a driver's rate, which is set high enough that covers our highest paid driver with all benefits we have to pay, to cover that cost. And we charge the actual cost of fuel. The state requires us by code to, or we lease a bus to an individual, which we're not here, but this is bringing the other
Sure.
side of what we would do.
Yep.
They require us to recover our actual cost per mile out of that lease, which is, it costs us per mile to operate on an average per year, about $5.50 a mile. Is what our average cost is. So we are required to cover something, recover that percentage of cover. So if we leased it, that would be the cost. Obviously, when it's our own school district, we're not leasing it.
Right.
Because it's so it would be however they would want to kick that back into the district. And if we pay for driver's wages or fuel or however, if they want to participate with that.
Do we have a willing driver?
As of right now, we do not have a driver.
Yeah,
We'll be
and
working on that in the next few days.
yeah,
Our driver will be so far.
so that is a piece of this. If approved, it'd be contingent on if there was a driver available,
Yeah,
obviously. Yes.
Everyone's turned me down.
I didn't hear
Heard
the
that.
the last piece about the driver.
It's a bit of a journey. So, and I'm aware of the challenges. I think it's been the really great blessings and opportunities of taking on the AD role this year is I'm going to dig into this stuff a little deeper and kind of logistically plan moving forward what's feasible for us financially. But I obviously feel that heart tug commitment to salmon, the team's going to go regardless. And so that either self-transport or the ride a bus. So canceling the game isn't an option. So looking at it moving forward, this would definitely not be in this time frame and or in, potentially even a part of this conversation as we look at other options. So
And there's, if we can't find a bus driver,
then they will
um,
self-transport.
then, and they're self-transporting, we're not liable for mileage or anything like that.
Nope.
Are we?
Nope. Yeah. Once we deem a trip self-transport, there's pieces of it, and I've spoken to Mr. Mackey about those, legality pieces, making sure supervision is appropriate, making sure all of those things are taken care of, because you are still traveling as a school entity. But as far as like us housing any of the costs, they're not there. So
Would we
but
cover
it would
for
be,
hotel at that point?
yeah, we still are gonna, and for those players who want to stay, yes, but we will be covering the hotels.
So they would have the option to go back that night though.
Yes, if parents wanted to get in the car and go, they are welcome. We're not sending a
No.
16-year-old in the car off by themselves in the middle of the night, no. But if a parent checked a student out and they wanted to go as far as the Montana border and then do the rest the next day, they could if they wanted to.
When is it?
This
Friday.
Friday. Mhm.
It's 13 miles.
13 miles over, yep.
So back to my visual learner.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great to have a visual around that. You rattled off a bunch of schools that are within a certain distance, all right, kind of
Yeah.
at that 280 mile. I'm not.
No, you're good. I just dug into that today. It was all new data for me too. Because I was like, okay, what is logistically, what are we painting a picture for as far as future decisions that are related to this? And I think it potentially could even, with Derek included, obviously have a conversation and looking at what that mileage is. Is it appropriate? Is it not? And putting that through a policy review even because of the 8-man versus 11-man challenge that we deal with as a school.
That's what I mean. Sort of taking a bigger picture look and trends of population
Yeah.
Within the region. And are
Mhm.
we looking at going farther and farther and farther away to support?
Or whether
these-
it be teams that are
or-
popping into us or
yeah,
different things.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
can definitely put that together for you, and I think we can.
And
look
then,
at
and
that.
then what's the difference of, again, I'm sorry, I had to buy a football. 'cause
No,
my
you're
son-
okay.
So, but if more teams around us play 8-man, why don't we play 8-man?
Because
Size.
yeah,
Too big.
size. It's a completely different.
It's
Game.
State
State
regulations.
Yeah.
regulations
Thank you.
because of
Yes.
how big we are.
Okay.
Yep, we're a bigger school, so we can. And playing 8-man is something like I've talked to the coach about this. Corey and I were just chatting about this earlier too. We can technically play those games, but it's not a
No.
good game for us. It's
Not
going to
at
throw us off. Where the coaching style is different. The core money, yeah,
Throw something in here.
go for it.
We're working on scheduling those closer games, but most of those schools have their schedule pretty set. So in order for us to get in, somebody else has to get out. So
Right.
we're working on it, but logistically it takes a little bit of time.
It does. We made a new connection this year. We with Payette, and they've committed, to do some change back and forth. Sam was part of that connection. A lot of that, to give you context of the athletic world, it goes like that. Like you come to me, I'll come to you, and then you get on their books for the next 2 years as a commitment. IHSA is even putting in contracts that you can have with other people saying, you signed this, you're coming. If not, you can pay the fees or different things because scheduling has gotten so complicated. Our state's funky like that when you look at like the pockets of sizes of schools and different, I think maybe you remember in soccer, we were the only ones
Oh
driving
my
all the way
God.
up the hill, right? So now
Yeah.
Priest River's in our league. And so everybody does that. But for the longest time, it was just that one sport. So
I
yeah.
will never forget a ride back
No.
from one of those games
Tough.
with 4 young men in my car.
Yes.
I like it because they're coming here next year. So
Yes.
yes, we're paying extra 13 miles, but now we have a committed game from a school that's very similar program to ours.
Same size, same league.
You can get people inside that district, but that's a lot bigger than Orofino. And it was a rough game on our kids.
It was.
A Salmon actually size wise, town wise is more like an Orofino, so probably a better
Yeah.
game for our kids.
Agreed.
Instead of our kids getting like Timberline played Potlatch and how many injuries came out of that?
Couple of broken bones.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Bigger, Potlatch is a lot bigger than Timberline. I get why you schedule those games because it's close and they're 8-man, but also we got to look at the balancing act for the kids,
Yeah.
A Salmon will be a very good game for our
I think
kids.
so too. Yeah.
So,
In
And
this
you-
case, I would
you just
recommend
want-
if they can get the bus,
Yeah.
that's the safest thing for our kids.
right.
We had between the school and the community paying the difference, I don't
Talking
know. I was looking to see if I could
26
drive it.
miles at
I
5
can't.
something.
I can't drive that one because I have already committed to work the Timberline game, but hopefully we'll find somebody.
I see it as a tremendous opportunity to recruit bus drivers, right? Even if it's just bus drivers that want to drive for games.
Yeah. Activity based.
If we're doing more of this kind of travel, which I don't know if this is more or less, or it's the new norm.
It's getting harder and harder for sure.
Yeah. So,
So we look like the
So-
good guys and Derek
Jake-
looks like the bad guy. We get rid of
No,
everyone
no,
turns
not at
into
all,
the
right?
guys that
So-
won't put in for your.
yeah. So, I mean, Jake, is there any conversations about how do we recruit a bus driver to help us here?
It's above my pay grade.
You're already driver's
But
ed.
to be,
You're
to
already
give you some
driver's ed.
context, when we did our athletic meeting where we talked to volunteers, Derek from that had 2 inquiries from interested parents that were affiliated with a specific sport.
Good.
And so I
Excellent.
think that the more conversations we have about ways that you can get involved with your students' specific sport athletics, people are going to find the vein that works for them. And I think that those conversations could emerge. So.
Brian, you're on screen and I don't want to be rude and not invite you to participate in the conversation.
No, I wanted to, can you hear me? Bueller? Can you hear me?
I can now.
Oh, okay. Becca, did you say we agreed to this game earlier this spring?
Yes, last spring.
Last year.
Which, as we know, and as you guys can see within the agenda for this evening, we've had quite a few changes in our athletic department, and some of these things, bringing it in the week before is obviously not ideal, but where the board meeting fell and with some of these discussions, by the time we were having these conversations, Simon was like, it's our homecoming. And we're like, oh, this is slightly more challenging than we thought it would be to move or make adjustments as needed. So we want to be able to support another small school in that endeavor as well. It'll be much more timely in the future if we ever need more of these requests.
Our policy provides for self-transport when we can't bus.
Right.
We just
I
don't
saw
want
that.
to unless we
Right.
absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just want an exception. You don't want us to alter the policy yet.
Nope, just an exception for now, and then I'll provide relevant data for the policy conversation. So if you guys wanted to go that direction, you'll have the data for it.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Our next item is the work release for credits.
That's also me. Okay.
Right on.
I provided that list for you guys. We're really excited because since we passed this policy last year, we really feel like we have it streamlined now. And now that I have a counselor who's helping manage it. So we approved the work release policy last year that allows a student for if they work a certain number of hours and fill out that complete application that they can be approved for credit for their work release. We generally facilitate this during like first and second or sixth and seventh hour. We see it actively used by some of our athletes that need to have 4 or 5 classes in order to participate. All of these students have completely filled out the application. They've met with our counselor. They've added it into their schedule in whatever form necessary. And then we'll do the validity check probably at semester in order to deem credit. So I'll go through and make sure, and Ms. Wickard will as well, the hours were completed, making sure that they actually get the credit. This is to approve that we can pursue that credit. If there's anybody that should not, will revoke their credit, we found out they didn't actually go to their job all those hours. Their job is not an actual job or something of the nature, we can adjust and come to you guys and say, hey, we won't be awarding these 2 students
Great.
credits.
And
Oh, sorry. I was just
No.
gonna say, it used to just be 12th grade only, but there's 11 and 10 now.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, they satisfied the credit requirement in order to have that opportunity, or it was a logistical scheduling piece. Some of it's going to be in alignment with our CTE work that we're doing to get those capstone courses for kids on sites. We don't have those exact pieces set up yet, so that's why there's some flexibility built in there.
And I remember the discussions from last year when we created this, the scope of work would be part of this whole process. So we have a scope of work of what their job is.
Yep. They kind of line out what their job, what their specific role is. They'll have to have hours. Their supervisor has to sign off on those hours.
Mentor or
And
whatever.
that's why we only had 2 last year. So the vetting out process wasn't as needed. I would definitely say we can look at, we're going to be keeping a very close eye on this list of kids, be
Yeah,
able to make sure that
16 is
it's,
a pretty good number.
to make sure that they're legitimate in what they're doing, and we're not just getting it as a stamp out early for school. So
Mhm.
it's all built into their schedule, so that tracking's gonna be a little better. They check in and out with Crystal at the front desk every time they go.
Is there a way to hook them if we find out that it is a bit fraudulent?
Oh yeah, one, they don't get the credit, and 2, it's
Well, I know, but can we bring them in before they get to a point where they've spent so much time that, and then it's like, hey,
Yeah.
dude,
yeah.
it's not gonna work.
No, it's definitely on our radar. Like I said, I'm aware of this list and how much it's grown, and within my role, I have enough scope and awareness to know which ones I
Yeah.
might want to visit with sooner.
Yeah, I think it's awesome from the
Right, yeah.
perspective of getting kids into the workplace and sort of building those real workforce skills and an ethic around showing up at work. I think
Right.
it's fabulous.
I
Are
think
they doing any pre-employment checks before you're allowing them, so you're checking?
they
the
have to
job
submit
first?
a letter from their employer that's signed and documented and dated for the employer to even let them get into the class. And then once we have that supervisor's agreement, yep, this student works here, it's all a part of the application process, then they start the hour log. And then we touch base, and then the supervisor is actually going to give some influence on whether or not they pass or fail. Because if they are a bad employee, they don't get to pass.
I remember that discussion.
Yes.
Mhm.
So do they get to, like kind of going back to one of our policies that we were looking at in the challenging of courses, can they use this work credit to challenge a course if their employment is in line with this, or is this just for elective credits?
It's an elective credit. Which they do need the 17 electives to graduate high school. So I guess if they were short on an elective, they could have a conversation like I should have passed versus failed. But the nice thing about this policy specifically is it's very detailed. It has like everything that you must meet in order to get this credit, and they sign off on that. Their employer signs off on it, and their parent signs off on that. So we hold a lot of weight in when saying like, if you failed, all these people agreed to these stipulations. So
And can you remind us of that policy number?
off the top of my head, probably not.
I know.
I'm losing my edge.
I was thinking about that.
But I can email it to you.
But yeah, so I think
And Taylor.
email
Yeah.
all of us, and that way,
Yeah.
just as a reminder and for Taylor's edification of what we've done in the past.
Yep.
Awesome.
It's a
Ryan,
great
any
program.
thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Great program. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Lots of good names on here, so hopefully it's a pretty good
It
list.
fits right in with our mission.
Yep.
Mhm, yeah. Okay, our next item is classified leadership salary
Rick.
schedule. We added some additional tiers. Farah, you want to share those, or I didn't have any?
It's in that link
Yep,
on the
I saw
agenda.
that. Yeah, I looked at those. I didn't see
We had
any.
some positions, as you know, that were created last couple of years that were outside of the
Yep.
the normal tiers. And so now we've added tiers so that they would fit in the schedule where they could, have an incremental raise with experience.
Yeah, I didn't have any questions on it.
Does it cause people to lose what they're
No.
currently making?
I
No,
can
we
speak to
wouldn't
that a little
Because it
bit.
kind of looked like that on the one worksheet that we
Yeah.
got.
And those totals were omitted from, or I'm sorry, those amounts were omitted from the totals that you saw because it just didn't quite align, with us trying to place these people on the schedule after the fact. But in looking at it next year, it'll correct itself. So no, we're not going to adjust anything this year, but then next year it'll correct itself. Yeah.
So they won't lose anything from what
No.
they're making this year to
No.
next year. Okay.
Like they'd be grandfathered essentially if they were above, where they would be placed.
Mhm. Yeah. 2 years ago, we went through a major restructuring for classified salaries. And so this is, we just missed some of the higher end folks and more specialized folks.
Yes. And these are the people that there's really just maybe one person in the position. So very unique skill sets for the most part. You can see the years of service, some of them have quite a few years with the district. So they're obviously very valued employees, and we're still just trying to get there, but we're getting closer.
Yeah, it came a long
Yeah.
way. It's a lot of hard work, fair, good job.
Mhm.
2 years ago, we had nothing that made sense.
Well, we had everyone at $15 an hour.
Everybody was
So-
at 50.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an easy one, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
The sped manual. So the only question I had was the impacts on us already having an overly taxed sped program and what the communication feedback mechanism was. And I visited with Cody about it, and he said, really, this is coming down from federal requirements and getting the state aligned, and when the state get aligned, then we're going to get aligned. So
It is what it is.
yeah, so, but that's just a disclosure of that conversation. And the one thing I did want to ask, and because I know I've seen that job advertisement consistently, are there pathways like we have an alternative certification process? Do we have a pathway like that for someone that might be interested in special ed?
Yeah, we do the same pathways as everybody else has, but more stringent
Sure.
They have to have a bachelor's degree.
Mhm.
You can get an emergency certification.
I can't hear Cody.
Sorry.
The requirements for special education are a little bit more stringent than they are general education. For an emergency certification for a regular teacher, you could emergency cert somebody that just had the right experience or whatever for a year. Special education, they have to have a bachelor's degree to even
That's
get.
from federal?
Yeah,
That's a
fed.
federal thing, okay.
So it's even harder to
Yeah,
get those people in. So you can't just like throw a parapro in there for a couple of years and kind of groom them up. You can't do that. They have to have the bachelor's degree to start with.
But we could grow our paras through bachelor's, through an education, maybe an online
And there are,
pathway to bachelor's to get to that.
yeah,
maybe?
there's several of them doing that
Oh,
right
awesome.
now. So
Awesome.
we are encouraging people to do it, but
Mhm.
it's a hard job to recruit for.
Yeah, those are the two questions that I had about that.
Is just one of our own grown through that process from para to sped teacher, one that we employ now?
Yeah, one.
So we currently have one who's a para for us and worked her way through her education, who's now a sped teacher.
Oh, nice.
I knew we had one. I just wanted to know if there were others.
And that I can think of off the top of my head.
Awesome.
Yep.
To process of OES that are pairs.
Better working towards it.
Oh, excellent. How far out are they?
Do you know, Cody?
I think they're a couple of years out.
A couple of years.
Years is the closest one.
Okay.
We're hiring.
No, I know we are. Yeah, no, I was just thinking if with the rule change, allowing more, I don't know if this, it's not the right way to say it, not allowing more, but creating the definitions that could potentially bring more youth into the program that need special supports and our need for staff and our community demographics.
Right.
The rule change definitely has the potential to increase our special ed population. You know, in some senses, more students will be qualified, so it will be an increased demand.
Yep,
For
more
sure.
students will be, that's what I was looking for. And if we, are there limits on the density with a teacher, so many students that we would end up getting ourselves in trouble? I mean, is there a breaking point for the system?
I don't know the answer to that.
We're a ways off.
Of course, there's a breaking point for every system, but we try to balance that as best as we can. Try to make the caseloads manageable we're required by law to meet all the things that are on the IEP. So we're required to do those things. So whether it's service through a paraprofessional or a certified special education teacher or speech language pathologist, all those services are required that the teams deem necessary for the student.
Yeah, I've learned that. So that was like, oh gosh, what more?
Yeah.
With less.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, board training. Okay. The regional meetings. I plan to attend the Moscow meeting. I also plan to attend the convention. And so that the opportunity for us to learn regionally is cool. And they've changed them from in the middle of the day to an evening event.
Can't get that link.
The key,
Yeah, the links are blocked.
That link's blocked on that one. I was trying to find it earlier. Do you remember the date and where? The regional.
This is October 27th, I think, in Moscow.
It's just a web link, so I'm not sure why it would be blocked.
Yeah, it says content blocker.
Russell doesn't want Taylor and I to see that.
Russell.
Or two.
I was like.
For
I went through
crime
those
and
links 3
terrorism.
No,
times.
it's not yours. It's the.
Moscow Region 2 meeting is October 24th,
Okay, that's-
Thursday in Moscow from 5:30 to 7:30.
And then the convention is November 6th through the 8th, right?
Yes, you're correct. Do we want to get
So-
a show of hands or something so we know who's planning on going?
Yeah, we
Each
need to
one?
know for a public notice of if we have a quorum.
Mhm. And then
Attending
for,
a training. And then also for registration, if you book me a bed to sleep in, I'll cover the rest of my expenses.
I'll be attending the conference in Boise. The last week of October, I'll be in Boise for other training.
Awesome, first timer.
So Brian was in for ISBA in Boise. Who else?
I'm most likely in.
No, that's third time. Third time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what I was asking. When do
Most
I
likely.
have to? Yeah.
And I can do both.
Yes, she did. Chris, what did you say?
Both.
Chris is both.
I'm in both.
Taylor's both. I'm most likely at Boise.
And then we had spoke of an event next week with Phil for leadership strategic planning, and I learned that that is the third day of sage grouse hunting, and I have a wifely commitment to be at bird camp. So I've been coordinating with Phil. He could come up on the 23rd. I don't know if we,
It's a thing.
can I talk about this on the,
Yeah,
it's not
it's
on,
okay.
it's
It's
board
okay.
training. I thought it would be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a
It's okay.
specific line item. I told Jason, I said I'd need a bigger
I think
doghouse
it was
if I,
it was the bird camp. You know,
yeah. Sage grouse hunting. So it's late, I'm tired. Anyway, I'll continue to work with Phil. I don't know, Taylor, if we want a back-to-back evening meeting.
You're talking about October 23rd?
October 23rd, yeah.
When's our regular board meeting that month in October?
The 21st.
Yeah.
So you'd have 3 or
It'd be
4 nights.
three-
The 23rd, I'll probably have a planning and zoning meeting. likely.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be able to do a Wednesday.
Yeah,
The
dude.
planning and zoning meetings are the same week as our board meetings, but on Wednesday.
Good to know. Okay, I will communicate that, and Jason will work through something with Phil and come up with something.
Okay.
Was he not available on the 21st?
He said the 23rd, so I was gonna throw that out, so. Let's see.
Because yeah, the 21st, we have it scheduled for a work session if he was available.
That's,
And then
well,
school board meeting after, right?
that was gonna be September 21st, and that's my problem.
Ah, that's what it is.
Yeah, I can't do that September.
Okay, we'll work on that.
So, yeah, we'll work on scheduling that.
I'm in Boise the week of October 7th also for my regular job. So that week would be out for me.
23rd, 24th, or 25th. So. Since we're all going to ISBA, I wonder if there is a board strategic planning new member. I wonder if there's a session there.
I'm sure I read that there was.
Yeah, in my experience, they always have breakout sessions for that exact thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll look at the agenda. Maybe we can just take advantage of that while we're all there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that understanding. I appreciate that. Okay, public comment. Do we have any? I don't have an executive session need. Brian, do you?
Nope, I was glad to hear you didn't have an executive session need.
The first two.
Right on. Yep. Okay, our action items, policies. So let's run through our second reads. So we had, do you want to do them individually or you want to lump them? Thank you.
One motion would be
So we have 2320. We have a sentence to choose. Pull that up. X this out. September 2nd read. I really like this. This is good.
Are you comfortable with the motion as they were presented? Let's make those edits and selections.
I didn't hear a motion around the sentence.
Which policy?
2320.
I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, me too. Select.
My recommendation is that we choose the or option, which is more closely aligned with what we're currently instructing on.
Can I make a motion, Carmen? I didn't think so.
I can.
Yep.
I make a motion that we go with the line, the or. Board directs, do I need to say the whole one? Carmen? No?
No, you don't.
Okay,
Board
so I'll
policy
make,
2320.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that on policy 2320, we go with the or sentence.
Is there
I
a
second.
Awesome. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, the next one that we need is 7405 P1.
We need to put a dollar amount in.
We need to
correct?
put a dollar amount. So the recommendation for small schools for the superintendent to have authority without board approval was 5,000 or 10,000.
Which policy?
7405 P1. Our current,
I'm not ignoring you. I'm just having a hard time pulling it up.
I understand.
I was trying to find the current one too, what the change in dollar amount would be if we went with 5.
I thought it was a second read, Jason.
I don't think so.
It must be a
can't find
first
it
read.
on the second read.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just had a note on that one.
Oh, it is a
Um,
first read?
Trying to be on.
I think on 1500 P1, we have to select a number of days.
That is correct. 1500 P1, a number of days for informing. 1500 P.
Yep. Or clerk at least.
So Carmen, I was thinking we have to post. Oh, actually, we need a motion, then we can
Yeah.
talk.
Okay.
Yeah, you changed policies on me.
Yep.
Yep, I'm sorry, 1500 P.
My recommendation is that we don't need lots of time here. If it's 2 days,
Yeah, we were thinking 3.
yeah,
Mhm.
3 would be fine. I just wanted to give you something that,
Yeah.
since you can't discuss it, I can make a
Thank
recommendation.
you, yeah.
We don't need a ton of time.
I was trying
Brian,
to
do you want
put
to
my
make a
fingers
motion
out
on
there.
that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion on approving the 1500 P. I think the 3 days would be better than the 2.
Yeah, I'll second the 3 days.
Any discussion?
I think that's not too short, but not too long either, so.
And it gives you one more day prior to the 48-hour notice that you would need, so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, are there any other that we needed to make specific? This is the only the notes that I had.
Seventy-four or 5, was that a first? Because I had that one open and I didn't close it
Yeah,
out.
I guess I'm gonna have to close. I thought it was a second, but it must be a
We'll do
first.
that one next week. Okay,
Scroll up.
perfect. Or next month.
First read.
Yep.
Yep,
So
yeah, it's a
get rid of
first
that
read.
one.
Okay,
Perfect, okay.
all right.
I think that's it then.
Okay, so policy, the rest of the policies.
The rest of the second read, you could approve as
As a group,
Mhm.
a.
Yep,
I make a motion to approve the second reads for all other policies as presented.
I second.
awesome. Any discussion?
Yeah, can I, just a point of order? Can we amend that to the second reads for September 2024?
Why don't you just run with the motion, Brian?
You
Oh, I
need
gotta
to
amend.
amend it. Mhm.
Okay, I'll make amendment to September 2nd reads 2024.
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. New hires and separations.
We're gonna let Jason step down from coaching, make Pat be the head coach now. I make a motion to approve the new hires and separations as presented.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I will abstain because there's people on that list that I'm really close to.
Perfect.
Appreciate that. Okay, approval of the supplemental contracts. So we added a few from last.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the supplemental contracts as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Just thanks for doing that, Jason. You and the team getting that done.
Yeah.
And thanks for the people stepping into roles they weren't planning on having this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
There isn't one on here for, did you approve some last?
We
Yes,
did.
yeah, these are additional ones.
These
Yep.
are new ones,
Mhm.
yep.
Okay. I think we all agreed related to the property utilization that we were going to wait as far as any sort of structure or
I think we have
formal
to go on
decision.
that last motion.
Yeah.
You have to have a motion.
Agree.
Thought we did. I'm sorry.
Nope. We're getting close.
Keep me honest.
That's okay.
Brian made a motion, but
So
then.
Brian made a motion.
Mhm.
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion?
What's the motion?
I didn't hear the
What was the motion?
Oh, to approve the supplemental contracts?
No, I thought you were on utilization.
We never voted on the supplemental contracts. There was a motion and a second and a discussion, but there was never a vote.
Correct.
Okay, so all in favor.
We're caught up.
Okay,
Good.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Got
Motion
her.
carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Now we're on to 4.
Okay,
No,
property utilization near the parking lot.
No, you have to make a motion for no action required at this time, or do you just let it be?
Say no.
We
motion at
say
this
no
time.
There's
motion
no
at this
motion,
time.
okay.
Mhm.
So no motion at this time on property utilization near the Orofino Junior Senior High School parking lot.
No action.
No
Yeah,
action.
but we'll stay in touch.
What was that? On state?
We're gonna
No
stay in
action, but
touch,
we'll stay in
but
touch.
no decision tonight.
I'll keep in touch
Yeah.
with you.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that'd be great.
Okay, approval of the continuous improvement plan.
I'll make a motion to approve the approval of the continuous improvement plan as was presented.
I
I'll
second.
second that. Oh, Taylor got me.
Taylor beat you.
Right on. Any discussion?
Good night. I just, yeah, it was put together very well. Thanks, Jason. That was very
I
informational.
like that we're challenging ourselves as a district there, Jason. Good job.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. The Orofino Junior Senior High School work release for credit.
I'll make a motion that we accept the Orofino Junior Senior High School work release for credit program as presented.
We need a second.
Oh, I'll second.
Okay, discussion. There's a change, Brian.
Thank you for bringing me back to policy on this one. I did just double check and they do need to actually be in 12th grade. So you can approve all of the 12th graders on that list, but not the 4 others. It will be able to, on the school side, make some adjustments for them, but they just won't be able to receive the credit that we're talking about. So they could still have the experience, just no credit. So
Is it possible to amend our policy to allow for these?
not potentially for next semester. So we can keep them in the program, keep them going, and then get them for credit a little bit later. But that was a nuance that got missed at the news. No, I appreciate it. I would,
just remember.
me in policy. So yes, 12th grade only. So those ones that, and technically all of those 11th graders on that list will be at 12th grade credit standing by the end of this semester anyway. So they'd naturally pop into that. So
Including the 10th grader.
not the 10th grader, just the 11th graders. So we would need to make
So we have
that.
one.
Yep.
How will that affect their relationship with their employer when they've kind of already committed to these?
So the nice thing is we won't be able to change, we won't have to change their schedules. All of ours, because of the low credit load that we require in our district, which is 46, most students in our district, if they pass every class, have the ability to attain 56. So they're totally in line if they still leave for work early. They just won't get the credit this year. They can get it next semester or early next year. So
So does a motion need to omit the 10th grader
the 10th grader and the 11th graders for right now.
and the 11th graders right now? Okay,
So just the 12th graders would need to be approved.
okay.
I apologize.
Nope, that's okay.
I don't know.
Hey, Madam Chair, I'd like to amend my motion.
Thank you.
Like to make a motion that the Orofino Junior Senior High School work release program or work release for credit program for 12th graders only be approved as presented.
Second to that amended motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. The Orofino Junior Senior High School football travel request to be outside of policy by 13 miles for bus transport.
I'll make a motion to approve the travel, the extra 13 miles for Orofino Junior Senior High School football if they can find a bus driver.
I'll second.
Discussion? I would like you to have the motion amended to be specific to the Salmon River game on Friday and the date of. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll amend my motion. This would be just for the football game this Friday, September 20th at Salmon River.
Salmon.
Sorry,
Salmon.
Salmon at Salmon.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Taylor?
I said I. Sorry. I
Okay.
said at the same time. as
No,
Brian.
you're all right. Thank you. Classified leadership salary schedule approval?
Make a motion that we approve the classified leadership salary schedule approval as presented.
I second.
Any discussion? I just want to say thank you for continuing to bring alignment to our staff salary.
I agree with that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carried. Approval of the SPED special education manual revisions.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the SPED manual revisions as presented.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. We have an action item that didn't have a discussion bullet.
Here, so.
Timberline bank account signature approval. I saw it in the superintendent's report.
Yeah, with our changes this year, we need to make those changes.
Yeah. Okay, so I motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the Timberline bank account signature changes as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Awesome. And a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
We'll make the last one, Taylor. Are we there?
Any input
Almost.
for future agenda items? So the next regular meeting is October 21 at Orofino Elementary.
Yeah.
And we
That's
have a
our
work
audit.
session of the audit. Heavy duty work session season.
Yeah. That's a big one.
That-
Same
I-
guys last year.
That'll be enough.
Yeah, well,
Hopefully we can get through policy quickly. We'll have so much to do.
we got more policy next month. Wow.
Yeah, the second reads.
I know.
Yeah.
Because we slacked off for a year. I don't see anything.
I don't have anything else at this time.
Me neither. Brian, anything to add for next meeting?
Nope.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
Oh, the only discussion item I'll have is Taylor's been the most aggressive motion-making newbie we've ever had. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Engaged brain. Yeah,
I did.
yeah, we got a second.
Discussion.
Yeah, we had discussion.
Yep.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Brian. Thank you. for
Thank you, guys.